Picture this. You're surrounded by people chasing success. Some play fair, work hard, and hold tight to their values. Others lie, manipulate, and crush anyone in their path. Strangely enough, it's often the cutthroat ones who make it to the top. Why is that? Is the system really stacked in favor of the worst people? Look around. History, politics, business. There's no shortage of powerful figures who got where they are by being ruthless, not righteous. From brutal kings to aggressive CEOs, it's a pattern that keeps showing up. But this isn't just bad luck or coincidence. It's wired into how humans evolved and the way society works. When resources are limited, competition becomes a natural response. People who pause to play fair or wait for justice often get pushed aside. Meanwhile, those who are willing to lie, cheat, and dominate tend to come out on top. It's a brutal truth, and it makes us ask something uncomfortable. Does having morals actually make you weaker in a power game? Here's where it gets interesting. While the worst people may win in the short term, history also shows that their downfalls can be just as dramatic as their rise. So the real question isn't just how they climb up, but whether they can actually stay there. And maybe more importantly, what does this mean for the rest of us, those who still care about doing what's right? Nietzsche had a lot to say about this. He saw power as a fundamental force in life, not good or bad, just real. To understand why the worst often succeed, we have to look at what power really is. That brings us to one of Nietzsche's most debated ideas, the difference between master morality and slave morality. Let's dig in. Picture two warriors on a battlefield. One is bold, fearless, and takes charge. He doesn't wait for anyone's permission and lives by his own rules. The other is cautious, always looking for approval, playing fair, hoping that being good will earn him reward. Now, who's more likely to survive? Who's more likely to lead? Nietzsche argued that morality isn't a one-size-fits-all truth. It's shaped by the battles for power throughout history. He saw two core kinds of morality, master morality and slave morality, and they help explain why ruthless people often come out on top, while kind and fair people struggle. Master morality belongs to the powerful, the leaders, conquerors, and creators. It values strength, courage, ambition, and control. These people define what's good based on what helps them build and dominate. They don't seek approval. They define their own value. They shape their own fate and see weakness not as something to protect, but as something to overcome. On the flip side, slave morality is born from the oppressed, the ones who don't have the power to push their will. Instead of praising strength, it lifts up humility, obedience, and self-denial. It says suffering is noble and that seeking power is evil. Nietzsche believed this mindset came from people who couldn't dominate, so they built a belief system to justify their place in the world. But here's the hard truth. Slave morality doesn't stop the rise of the ruthless. It actually helps it. By shaming ambition and demonizing power, it hands control to those who don't care about being moral at all, while the kind-hearted wait and wonder. The bold take over. In a world where hesitation means losing, that's a dangerous game. So what now? Should we just drop all morals and go full savage to get ahead? Or is there a way to stay true to our values without being left behind? To figure that out, we need to understand the mindset of those who succeed, the ones who don't let the world beat them down. Imagine a wild, unforgiving wilderness. Survival there isn't about being fair or kind. It's about being strong, flexible, and willing to do what needs to be done. The lion doesn't ask before it hunts. The storm doesn't say sorry. Nature doesn't reward goodness. It rewards survival. And human society, deep down, isn't all that different. Underneath our rules and social systems, there's still that primal fight to stay alive and get ahead. The people who rise to power usually share one key trait: ruthlessness. Not necessarily cruelty, but the ability to act fast, without guilt, without second-guessing. It's not some flaw. It's a survival skill, something evolution built into us to help us lead and endure in a world that doesn't wait for anyone to catch up. Psychologists have spent years studying what makes people succeed in cutthroat environments. And again, the same traits show up: huge ambition, low fear response, and maybe most controversially, a lack of empathy toward those standing in their way. That doesn't mean all successful people are psychopaths, but it does mean many have personalities that let them push forward without being held back by guilt or second-guessing. Think about all the leaders, entrepreneurs, and historical figures who've changed the world. From Caesar to today's top CEOs, there's a clear trend. Waiting around doesn't get you anywhere. Power doesn't get handed to you. You grab it. The bold don't ask for approval. They take the leap, deal with the blowback later, and that's how they end up leading. That's why ruthless people often rise while the cautious stay stuck in the background. But here's the catch. Being ruthless isn't the whole story. If someone chases power without wisdom, things can fall apart fast. The same traits that get them to the top can eventually be their downfall. Rule through fear alone, and sooner or later, that fear turns against you. History is packed with examples of once untouchable tyrants who thought they were unstoppable, until they weren't. So, if the boldest often win, does that mean being fair and moral is a dead end? Not exactly. To see why, we have to question one of the most comforting beliefs we're taught growing up: that the world is fair. From the time we're kids, we're told that good people get rewarded, that working hard pays off, and justice always comes through in the end. It's in fairy tales, religion, and the values we grow up with. But then real life kicks in, and it hits hard. The people who grind the hardest aren't always rich. The honest ones don't always get to lead. The kindest folks often suffer the most. And this isn't some glitch in the system, it is the system. Fairness, in many ways, is more of a social story than a real rule. It helps keep order, sure, but it's still a story. Success isn't just about merit. It's taken, it's fought for, and often held onto by those who understand how the game works. There's even a name for the way we fool ourselves into thinking life is fair. It's called the just world fallacy. It's the belief that people always get what they deserve. And while it sounds nice, it's actually dangerous. It makes people passive. If we assume goodness alone will carry us to success, we'll miss the truth. Strategy and strength matter. And while we sit around waiting for justice, the people who don't believe in that illusion are already making moves. But does that mean we should toss all our values and go full power hungry? Not quite. The key isn't to drop your morals. It's to understand the system without getting played by it. The ones who get crushed are usually the ones who think playing nice is enough. But those who can mix integrity with smart strategy, who stay kind but aren't pushovers, those are the people who actually change the rules. Here's the hard truth. Fairness isn't something we can count on. It's something we have to build ourselves, and building it takes strength. Nietzsche saw this whole struggle as central to being human. His answer wasn't to give up and live in a fantasy, or to become a cold-hearted tyrant. Instead, he offered something deeper, a way to rise above both weakness and cruelty. To really get what he meant, we have to look at one of his most powerful ideas, the Übermensch. Picture standing at the edge of a deep, dark canyon. Behind you is the world you know, full of limits, injustice, and rules that try to keep you in line. In front of you is the unknown. Most people freeze, but a rare few take the leap. These are the Übermenschen, the ones who break free from what everyone else expects and build their own way forward. Nietzsche's Übermensch, or Overman, isn't just someone who muscles their way to the top. It's someone who evolves beyond fear, guilt, and blind obedience. They don't just accept the rules, they question them. They don't wait for fate, they shape their own future. At the core of this idea is the will to power. But not power over others, power over yourself. It's about digging deep into who you are, owning it fully, and giving life your own meaning, even in a world that often seems meaningless. While most people stay stuck in fear, trapped by what society told them to be, the Übermensch keeps going, free from illusions, focused on becoming something greater. Here's the thing. The Übermensch isn't about being cruel just for the sake of it. Unlike those who grab power out of fear or insecurity, the Übermensch doesn't need outside approval to feel strong. Their power comes from within. They don't have to lie or dominate because they aren't trying to prove anything to anyone. That's why people who rise through manipulation may reach high places, but they'll never truly rise above. Ruthlessness might win short-term battles, but the Übermensch plays a longer game. They're not just climbing the ladder, they're building something bigger than themselves. They're creators, not just takers. So how do we live this out? How do we hold on to who we are in a world that seems to reward the people who care the least? The answer starts with seeing power differently, not as something to fear or abuse, but as a tool to use wisely. It means learning how to compete in a world where kindness alone doesn't always win. Imagine you're thrown into a game where the only rule is win. The people at the top play hard and fast, and if you pause, hoping fairness will protect you, you'll be left behind. This is the reality in business, politics, and often life itself. The ruthless know it, and they act accordingly. But that doesn't mean you have to become them. Too many people think they have only two choices: be ruthless or get stepped on. But there's another way, a third path that balances strength with integrity. You can be sharp and strategic without selling your soul. Nietzsche's philosophy wasn't about domination for its own sake. It was about rising above weakness without losing yourself. That starts with letting go of the idea that life owes you fairness. It doesn't. It never did. Those who succeed understand this early. They don't waste energy whining about unfairness. They figure out how the system works and use it. That doesn't mean tossing out your morals. It means realizing power itself is neutral, and when used with purpose, it can build something lasting. Many people fail not because they're unkind, but because they believe kindness alone will get them through. It rarely does. Power isn't given. It's taken. That doesn't mean being cruel, but it does mean being smart enough to spot when others are trying to take advantage of you. Strategic empathy helps. It means reading people clearly, seeing their intentions, and thinking a few steps ahead. It lets you move through a world full of hidden agendas without becoming fake yourself. Fear keeps most people stuck. Fear of failure, fear of standing out, fear of rejection. But the Übermensch taps into inner strength. That means accepting discomfort, taking bold steps, and building your own way forward, even when people doubt you. The most successful folks don't wait for the green light. They make their own road. There's a difference between reckless cruelty and thoughtful toughness. The first burns everything down for no reason. The second means making hard calls with a clear purpose. Sometimes, strength means cutting off toxic people, making unpopular choices, or speaking hard truths. That's not being harsh. It's being strong. And strength, when used wisely, is powerful. The ruthless may shoot to the top fast, but they often crash just as quickly. Why? Because their power is based on taking, not creating. The Übermensch builds, whether it's a business, an idea, a community, or a new version of themselves. When you bring real value to the table, people can't ignore you. You don't have to manipulate, because what you offer speaks for itself. Your power is earned, not stolen. So, can you thrive in a world that often seems built for the heartless? Definitely. But only if you stop playing by rules that were never meant to protect you. Stop expecting fairness to save you. Learn how power works and use it with purpose. And that leads to a bigger question. Is power bad in itself? Or do we just misunderstand it? Power shapes the world. It touches everyone, whether they hold it or are crushed by it. But is it evil by nature? Nietzsche didn't think so. He believed power isn't just about ruling over others. It's about creating. He saw the urge to gain power, not as something dark, but as something deeply human. It's not about stomping others down. It's about growing beyond who you were yesterday, stepping beyond limits, and becoming more than you thought possible. Still, history's full of stories where power corrupts. Leaders gain it and spiral into greed, ego, and tyranny. So it makes us wonder, does power change people, or does it just reveal what was already there? Nietzsche argued that pure power isn't about hurting others. It's about overcoming your own limits. It's about building, transforming, and writing your own values, not just accepting whatever society hands you. In the end, power doesn't have to corrupt. When used right, it can elevate. It's not about control, it's about creation. Still, in today's world, chasing power often gets a bad rap. We live in a society that praises virtue and selflessness, so when someone openly seeks power, they're usually met with doubt or judgment. But maybe that view misses the point. What if stepping away from traditional morality and choosing your own path isn't selfish at all, but actually the purest expression of being alive? Nietzsche didn't think of the will to power as a hunger to dominate others. For him, it was something deeper, an inner drive to live fully, to push boundaries, to discover what you're truly capable of. Seen this way, power isn't corrupt. It's a personal mission to rise above limitations and live life on your own terms. But let's be real, not everyone who wants power is doing it for noble reasons. The road to power is risky. It can lift you up or take you down. What matters most is why you're walking it. Are you after power just to control others? Or are you trying to become your best self and shape a life that reflects your deepest values? That's the real difference. So, is power bad? Not by itself. It's a neutral force, like fire. In the hands of someone with vision and integrity, it can build something amazing. But in the wrong hands, it can destroy just as fast. Nietzsche's message isn't to run from power. It's to learn how to handle it. He challenges us to see power not as something toxic, but as something we can master if we approach it with self-awareness, courage, and a strong commitment to growth. If this dive into power and success has sparked something in you, made you question what you've been told, or opened your eyes to new ideas, then don't stop here. Subscribe to the Mirror of Being channel. Hit that like button, share this message with someone who needs it, and stick around for fresh insights every day. Let's keep moving forward together, digging deeper into who we are, what we want, and how to live a life that's strong, free, and fully our own.